Hello everybody, I'm Corbin Hostler. I'm here with this Extra Turns deck. It's actually a really fun deck that I've had a lot of success with on Magic Online. I'm something like 9-2 over my last 11 matches with it in the 2-man queues, so I figure it's probably worth talking about here. So obviously the goal is to take a bunch of extra turns. You win by attacking them with Apart the Water Veil, so I'll walk you through it here. A bunch of islands, a couple Radiant Fountains for the life, but you do need to maximize your blue mana here because of Giga Drowse and Cryptic. So the basic premise of the deck is to survive until basically turn 5 when you have a Howling Mine effect in play. Dictate's obviously the better one. And you start looping a bunch of turns together. That's Time Warp, Walk the Eons, which you can sometimes buy back. Part the Water Veil, which I'll get to in a minute. Temporal Mastery, which sometimes you miracle. You can set it up off Serum Visions, or if you miracle it, it's just good value early, but it's also fine just to cast for 7 mana later. And then one Temporal Trespass, which you can sometimes use. So you win, and the version of the deck I originally started with had a Thassa as a third win condition, but I found that I never actually won with Thassa, so I'm testing another anti-aggro card in that slot. So the way we win is with Part the Water Veil. You just awaken it. And attack them. If they have a bunch of blockers, at that point in the game you'll be able to Cryptic down their blockers and attack with it. You can just chain turns together, and the 6/6 kills them really fast. You have to be mindful with this build of not running out of your win condition, since you only have 2 Part the Water Veils to actually win the game with. But so far it seemed to work with just these 2. So those are, that's how you win the game. It's really a very simple concept. Take all the turns, win the game with this. So kind of looking at the things that make that happen, Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand to set stuff up, of course. Spreading Seas is a really great card in this because not only does it give you some incremental value against something like Tron or Amulet Bloom, a lot of times it slows them down by a turn. It either takes them off a burn spell or takes them off casting something on time, and that can be really important. Plus, it cycles. Then the Howling Mine and the Dictate, obviously, which these are what you want to get going. Cryptic is another sort of virtual Time Walk. It doesn't, literally give you an extra turn, but if you counter their spell and tap down their guys, it buys you a turn. And the same with Giga Drowse. It can either tap down their things, or against a control player, tap down their lands at the end of the turn. And you can protect your win condition with Giga Drowse because you tap out all their lands so they can't actually path your Part of the Water Veil guy or whatever. So this card's actually really important. And I've won a whole bunch of games just by tapping down someone's creatures at the beginning of their attack step with this, or tapping down their lands in their upkeep to, again, just Time Walk them. On turn 3, if you don't have much else going on, you just tap both of their lands, and then they don't get to do anything with their turn. It's another sort of virtual Time Walk. The card's extremely good. Also can't be countered because of the Replicate. You put copies on the stack, so they can, only counter one of them or whatever. So, that's sort of the deck. It's really very simple in concept. This was the repeal. I put this in over the Thassa because it actually has a lot of value. I won a game against Zoo the other day because I just used it to bounce their 1-drop when I needed to in the attack step, and that gave me the turn I needed to win. It's also pretty flexible against a lot of different cards in the format, and I've used this as well. I've repealed my own Dictate, because actually one of the biggest concerns of the deck, especially if you have to burn apart the Water Veil early, is decking yourself before you actually win. So I've had a bunch of games where I've only won because I've used Cryptic and Repeal to bounce my own Dictates. So that's the deck. We'll move over to the sideboard. Dispels against removal and counterspell decks, sort of generically good card. Boomerang, you board in against sort of the mid-range decks. So just bouncing a land's really good. Bouncing the threat they tap out for is really good. Sometimes you need to bounce Liliana, something like that. Again, it can be used to bounce your own Howling Mines if you need to. Now, the original list had more hybridations, which I guess is important against some Malira decks and obviously Elves, but I found that I didn't like it as much as I wanted just sort of a generically good anti-aggro card against something like Burn or Zoo. And that's why I came up with Whiplash Trap, which is sort of trying it out right now. But it's actually really good. The Zoo decks will play out 2 things. The Burn deck's not quite as much, but a lot of those elves, a lot of these small creatures decks will do this. And, you just pay 1 blue mana and you get to bounce them, and that buys you a full turn, and you can do it really cheaply. And if you have to, you can do it for 5 mana. I've also looked at Permafrost Trap, which I'll show you. This is sort of better. It costs 1 less mana, which is really important because turn 4 is your big turn. But it's a little more restrictive on the trap cost, so I'm not sure which is better. Right now I'm going with Whiplash Trap. Burn is a bad matchup, as you would expect. They can oftentimes kill you by turn 5, so you board in 10 cards against them with the Dispels, and the Dragon's Claws, and the Sun Droplets. And I mean, it's a hard matchup, but it's not unwinnable. So that's the deck. We're just going to run it through some 2-mans here.